Hello lovely people, welcome back to another video. We are now in August, which means it is time to look back at the books I read in July. So last month I read 8 books. 6 of those 8 books were actually finished over the course of a 1-week vlog that I was filming. That vlog is now live. If you want to check it out, I will pop a link somewhere up here. It's where I challenged myself to read 150 pages a day to get through the currently reading pile I had amassed. I don't know how this had got so out of control, but I was reading 7 books at one time and I really wanted to not be reading 7 books at one time, and now I am only reading 2 books, which is the standard for me. I currently am reading 1 audiobook and 1 physical book, which is usually what I would have on the go, but it got a bit out of control, so I needed to minimize it a little bit, and I definitely did within that vlog. It does mean that obviously a lot of my thoughts and feelings on these books have been shared already in that one vlog. However, I will just be going through final thoughts, star ratings, and also talking about the other 2 books I read earlier in this month. I think July always gets a little bit out of control for me because I have Yauk, which does motivate me to read more, but it also knackers me so much that I need recovery time after it. It's such a busy weekend that I don't tend to read much whilst I'm actually at Yauk, and then usually afterwards I'm kind of recovering / doing a lot of content things. Also I have my birthday in July, which again, it means that there's a lot of busy things happening for me, so I don't have as much time to read. And I think as well throughout July this year I have been really busy with making lots and lots of content. I'm really happy with the content I've been putting out at the moment, so I really hope you're all enjoying it. Been doing lots for Patreon, lots for YouTube, lots for Instagram, lots of different things, and that has just left me with very little time to read. So let's go through the 8 books I did manage to read this month. So the first book that I finished in July was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This one I did a whole reading vlog for. If you'll have seen that, you'll know my detailed thoughts on this book. I went into this not expecting to like it. I am not a big romance reader, and if I am going to read a romance I have to be in the right frame of mind and the right mood for it, and obviously I picked this one up because I thought I was in the right mood for it, and I think I was. There were definitely frustrating points in this, especially with the main character. I found some of the decisions made were incredibly questionable and just, like, for me, made me feel quite frustrated. I thought the sex scenes, or the sex scene, I think it was just the one, was pretty ridiculous. There is a lot of my commentary in my vlog, again I'll pop a link to that up here, on that sex scene. Like, I go into great detail talking about lots of different parts of that. So yeah, I had thoughts and feelings on this. I definitely think it picked up. I thought at the start it wasn't really enough about women in STEM, which is what I'd kind of been sold into thinking that this was about, obviously, as well as being a romance. But then that did kind of push through at the end, and I definitely think it picked up, so I ended up giving this 3.5 out of 5 stars. This next book I'm so glad I don't have a physical copy of, because I don't need this on my shelves. This is The Perfect Poo by MJ Edwards. I read this on my birthday live show. It was mentioned on the live show and I thought it would be fun to read it whilst on the live show. I think other people were reading along too, and yeah, it's a romance between a woman and her poo. I mean, I'm sorry, I gave it 2 stars. I don't even know why it's 2 and not 1. Why is it not a 1 star? I think it's probably not a 1 star because I was like in fits of laughter throughout reading this book. So I think that it's one of those situations where, of course, it's a really shit book. Excuse the use of the wording. But it did entertain me because of how bad it was. And I think it was a parody of itself. Like, I can't think it's meant to be taken seriously. But yeah, that was an experience. It's on my July wrap-up. I put it on my Goodreads. It's a very short book. I don't think it needs to be any longer, I'm gonna be honest. It really doesn't. But yes, I gave it 2 stars for some bizarre reason. Then I entered back into the realm of normality and finished Medusa by Jessie Burton. This is an illustrated book and it is absolutely stunning. The illustrations are just gorgeous. I actually have a print of this one. It's also my absolute favourite illustration in the book. It's so lovely. It tells the story of Medusa kind of coming into her own and being her own person and kind of not being ashamed of who she is. And I just thought it was really brilliant. I think the illustrations accompanied it very well, and I really enjoyed reading more from Medusa's perspective and seeing that side of her story, and I don't think it's a side that you often get to see. So I really enjoyed this and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. This is a contemporary fantasy. It's a YA and it follows a group of girls at school who form a witch coven. Now, I went into this not knowing it was a contemporary fantasy. I thought it was historical. The name, the cover, just generally I thought it was historical fiction, and not that that would have changed me picking it up, but I didn't realise, and Lauren from Fiction Tea was reading it and told me that she thought I'd really enjoy it, so I thought I'd pick it up as an audiobook. And I have spoken about it since in live shows, and a lot of other people didn't realise it was contemporary as well. So this is contemporary. It's really good. Again, I have spoken about this one more in my vlog where I read 150 pages a day for a week and gave more thoughts and feelings on this, but I just found it really good fun. I really enjoyed where the story went. I couldn't really predict which direction it was going in. It definitely threw some curveballs, which I really liked. The descriptions in this were really lovely. There is a magical library that I would absolutely love to visit that just sounded so hypnotising and fascinating. And I just thought that the way that the story spun itself, it's like a Threadneedle, I just came up with that one, but I thought the way this story was written was just brilliant, and I'm really excited to read more in this world. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Book Eaters by Sunny Dean. This is an arc, this comes out in September, and I loved this. This is a book about books. If you followed me for any amount of time, you will know that I love books about books. So this follows a mum who is trying to look after her son. The mum is a book eater, which basically means that instead of eating food, she eats books and consumes the stories and the words on the page, which is also then consumed as knowledge once she's eaten it, which is really, really cool. Her son, however, is a mind eater, so instead of eating books, he eats people's brains, which is a little bit difficult to manage. So she is kind of on the run trying to get him a cure and trying to allow him to live a normal life. I think this for me was just the perfect blend of action. It was the perfect blend of a love of fiction, and in a different kind of way, really, because the way that these characters consume the books is very different, obviously, to how we consume books, and therefore their enjoyment of books is different, because it's not about a passion for fiction and a need for the written word. It's about a need for it because it's literally how they survive. However, there is still a real enjoyment surrounding it, and I really enjoyed that, and I found that really interesting to read about. This book is just shy of 300 pages, and I think that is just the perfect length for it. It's enough time for it to fill in enough action. We have flashbacks, we have an array of characters, and yet it didn't feel like it was stretching itself out too long. I really enjoyed this, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then I finished a book I have been reading since January, so I'm very, very pleased that I have now finished this one. This is A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. This is David Attenborough's witness statement over his career, over his life, looking at what we have done to our planet and what we can do to save it, and looking at how much things have changed in recent years. This was utterly fascinating. As I said, I've been reading this one since January, and I've been reading it for such a long time because every time I read it, I really want to sit down and absorb everything in these pages. I listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by David Attenborough, as well as physically reading this one, and I think that that definitely helped. Also, obviously, David Attenborough's voice is just hypnotizing and brilliant to listen to, but this is very important. I have said this in the vlog that I finished this book in, that I think everyone should read this book, and I'll say it in this video too. This is incredibly important, and I think if you have, I think it was 4 hours that the audiobook was. It wasn't long because a lot of this is also pictures and glossary and things. It might be a little bit longer than 4 hours, but if you have some time and you can sit and listen to this whilst you're just doing something mindful, like drawing or going for a walk or something, I would really, really advise this, because I just think it's so important. It tells us what we can do to try and stop what's happening to our planet, and it just hammers in the importance that there is something happening to our planet and we do need to do something about it, because this place has been here long before us and has been our home, and we are completely ruining it. So whilst it's not a very happy read, I think it's a very important one. It's a no-brainer that I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I could not give it anything but that because it was just fantastic. Then I read The Animals at Lockwood Manor by Jane Healey. This is one that my mum got me for my birthday, and I just thought it sounded brilliant and wanted to start it pretty much immediately, which is also why I ended up reading so many books at once, because I just kept getting books this month. I thought, yeah, I want to start that right now, which is the case for this one and also The Book Eaters. This follows a woman who is tasked with looking after the mammal exhibition from the Natural History Museum as it is evacuated to the countryside during the Second World War. This is a very interesting book because it looks at the mammal preservation and how these exhibitions have been preserved, which is something that I've never read about before. We've also got the wartime setting. We've also got a sapphic romance going on at the same time, which I absolutely loved reading about these two characters fighting each other. It was just It was brilliantly done, really good romance side of it. There's also an element of gothic horror going on here as well, which I love. Gothic horror is fast becoming one of my favourite genres, and I think it was really well fitted into the story. This is really interesting. It was definitely different to anything I've read before, and I really, really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The final book I read in July is Book of Night by Holly Black. Unfortunately, I just felt a bit disappointed by this one. I have neither strong negative nor strong positive thoughts on this book. It was just kind of meh. I listened to this one as an audiobook and I think that helped a lot. I didn't really feel like I wanted to pick it up when I was reading it physically. I know that this hasn't had the best reviews. I found the magic interesting because it was all revolving around shadows, and that wasn't necessarily something I'd read much of before. So I did enjoy that aspect to it, and I did enjoy that there was morally grey characters, which is always something I like to read about. There was also quite a lot of modern references to things like Patreon and BuzzFeed and things like that that I liked seeing in there that made certain moments more relatable. I just feel like this one could have done a little bit more with the concept it had, and I felt like it was just a bit disappointing, and as I said, it didn't really stand out either good or bad for me, so I gave this 3 out of 5 stars because it just felt like, for me, it just kind of sat in the middle. So yeah, it was just kind of an average read. Not good, not bad, but 3 out of 5 stars. So those are all of the books that I read in the month of July. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to see the books that I have read in the month of August, do subscribe and hit the bell icon and it will notify you when my August wrap-up goes live. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please do give it a thumbs up. Comment down below how many books you read in the month of July, and you can also subscribe, as I said, to see more of my face on your feed. You can also find a link down below to my online shop and also my Patreon where I post extra content. Thank you so much for watching. Keep smiling and stay positive.